Welcome. Today I'm going to work through a comparative statics question using the supply and demand model. We're going to start by drawing the equilibrium for the market. Typically you'll be told the kind of market we're going to consider. We're going to consider the market for potatoes. I'm going to draw my axes. I'm going to label the horizontal axis Q for quantity and my vertical axis P for price. I'm going to draw a downward sloping demand curve and label it D for demand. I'm going to draw an upward sloping supply curve and label it S for supply. Our equilibrium is here, the price P star, where the quantity demanded equals the quantity supplied, and the market clears. So we're going to start in equilibrium. Whenever we do a comparative statics question, this is exactly how we want to start. We want to start by drawing the market and labeling everything. Every line that is drawn ought to have a label on it. Then something's going to change. You will typically be told what changes, or if we're thinking about real-world effects, we will observe a change in the real world. For example, let's suppose that the price of rice increases. There's our change, okay? Our next step is to identify whether that change is a demand shifter, a supply shifter, both, or neither. In order to do that, we need to have our lists of shifters. Here's the list from our textbook. We have a handful of demand shifters: income, prices of related goods, goods that are related in consumption, and so on. Same thing, we have a list of supply shifters. We're thinking about rice here and how it relates to potatoes. I would suggest to you that rice and potatoes are substitutes in consumption. When one is putting a meal together, we might think about having a starch on our plate, whether that's potatoes or rice. So it's a substitute in consumption. And what we want to know is what happens to the market for potatoes when the price of rice increases. It's a demand shifter. So we're going to think about moving demand. Are we going to want to increase or decrease the demand for potatoes? Well, over in the rice market, as the price of rice is increasing, the quantity consumed of rice is probably decreasing. And certainly for those potato consumers who are debating whether to have rice or potatoes, rice becomes less attractive and potatoes becomes more attractive. And so the demand for potatoes increases. An increase is always a shift to the right. We're going to draw that new curve on our graph, on the same graph. We're going to label it D prime. We're going to label it so it's clear that that's the new demand curve. And then we're going to label the new equilibrium. The new equilibrium is here, where that new demand curve crosses our supply curve. As people's willingness to pay for potatoes increases, that pushes the price higher, increasing the quantity supplied. We move along the supply curve to this new equilibrium quantity so that we're at a higher price than we were before. Our last step is going to identify exactly that. What happened to price and quantity? To do that, we're going to examine our axes. Our price originally was P star, now it is P prime. That's an increase in price. Our original quantity was Q star. Our new equilibrium quantity is Q prime. That's an increase in quantity. And we're going to write that down. And that's it.